Hey everybody. Hey everybody. Welcome back to Wednesday Stash. Um, I show you ways to help you keep your food for longer on Wednesday Stash. That's the whole point behind this. Home food preservation is awesome because it makes your food last for longer. Less food waste, not throwing anything away, getting great flavors, great taste, all of that. So um, that's why we do Wednesday Stash. Now, today I wanted to talk about jerky. And I love jerky. I don't know if you're a fan of jerky. Jerky is deep drying meat. It's a type of dried meat. It doesn't require refrigeration. It's light, it's portable, take it with you, and it's really, really good. You can use any kind of meat for jerky, any type of red meat, um, such as beef, pork, venison, or smoked turkey breast. You can make jerky from smoked turkey breast also. Now, let's keep in mind, raw meat contains microbes, tiny microbes that can cause foodborne illness and disease, because everything that's needed for those microbes to grow, and either they're getting you sick or the toxins that they produce are getting you sick. But it's all there in the meat. You know, the protein's there, the moisture is there, the pH is great for it. pH is around neutral, so all the conditions are right for those tiny microbes to grow and potentially make you sick. So when we're making jerky, you want to make sure that you're doing a few things. Of course, hands are clean. Make sure your hands are clean, your food preparation areas are all clean before you handle meat products. And then, of course, after you're handling raw meat, you want to go ahead and make sure you're washing your hands afterward, just to protect from any type of foodborne illness. Okay? So, next thing, like I said, any types of meats can be used, but when it comes to wild meat, such as venison, there are a couple of extra steps that you need to make. So, first, before you ever make venison into jerky, you want to cut pieces that are thicker than no thicker than 6 inches, and you want to freeze them for 30 days. Now, the reason that you're doing this, you're trying to kill any parasites, such as trichinella. Trichinella causes trichinosis. And that's what freezing does. Freezing is going to kill those parasites, and then you can go ahead and prepare it for your jerky. So if you're dealing with wild game meats, make sure that you freeze first. All right. So, and this is when you freeze. This is done before you do any marinade or anything like that. You're just going to freeze the wild game for 30 days. Then you make it into jerky. So next one, you're going to slice that meat no thicker than 1/4 of an inch thick. So I have a little bit up here to show you. So you have some pieces, and I've already sliced this. This is sliced and marinated. It's not just raw meat, but you have pieces that are no thicker than 1/4 of an inch thick. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and slice those up, and you're going to trim the fat. Now, you want to use lean meat, and you want to trim the fat because the fat can go rancid quickly. So that's why you want to use lean meats for jerky, and rancid fat doesn't taste good. It's disgusting. So go ahead and trim that fat. So you're going to go ahead and slice it into those no thicker than 1/4 of an inch. And if you have a particular recipe that you're using, you're never going to go thicker than that 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so you're going to slice it. Once you have your slices, then you'll do your marinades. Now, the nice thing about the marinades, what they do is they give flavor, they give nice texture. Okay, and speaking of texture, when you slice, if you want um, chewy, you like more chewy um, jerky, then you're going to go ahead and want to make sure I always get this mixed up. So if you want it chewy, you're going to, um, let's see, you're going to slice with the grain. But if you want tender jerky and more brittle, you're going to slice across the grain. I like chewy. I like to kind of fight with my jerky a little bit while I'm eating it. So, but some people don't want to do that. So, for those, if you want more tender jerky, go ahead and slice across the grain. You can also use tenderizer, and if you choose to use tenderizer, just follow the package directions for that tenderizer. So we're going to go ahead and have this all sliced up, no thicker than 1/4 of an inch, and then you make your marinade. Now, marinades can be made. Marinades are just a combination of oil, vinegar, lemon juice. You might have Worcestershire sauce in there, soy sauce, teriyaki sauce, and then your spices, your seasoning. You might want garlic powder, pepper flakes. You just season it the way. You can make up your own jerky seasoning. It's up to you. And you're going to mix your marinade with these meat slices. You're going to get a shallow pan, shallow container, lay them out flat, cover them with the marinade, and put them in the refrigerator and let them marinate 1 to 2 hours. You can go overnight, but keep in mind, depending on what's in your marinade, overnight might make them too salty. So just decide, and you test it out a few times and develop the best way, develop a way that you like it the most. But 1 to 2 hours, always do your marinades in the refrigerator. I also wanted to point out, when you're slicing the meat, it's easier to get those nice 1/4 inch or less slices if the meat is partially frozen. Not frozen solid, but if you have frozen meat, let it defrost a little bit. It makes it just a lot easier to get those more uniform slices, because the meat is firm. It's not going to bend or mush while you're cutting it. So that one, use that tip for slicing for jerky. Now, for my marinade, I used, it turned out really good. I feel like I should hide my recipe, but it's not really that profound, but it just tastes really good. But I used 1/4 cup of soy sauce and a little extra garlic powder and adobo seasoning. There's some garlic in the adobo, but throw some in there, and then I add a little of the garlic powder, add a little bit more adobo, and that's all. I don't use oil or anything like that in it. It's delicious. I think it comes out really, really good. So I gave you that's my recipe. Have at it. Now, when what you want to do is, when you're finished marinating and it's ready to go into the dehydrator, preheat your dehydrator 140 degrees, or follow the manufacturer's directions. Some dehydrators, they have specific directions for jerky. Go ahead and follow the directions as far as the manufacturer. But your general directions are, you're going to preheat to 140 degrees, and you can do this in the oven also, but keep in mind, it's going to take several hours. It's going to take more time in the oven than it will take in the dehydrator. You're going to need to rotate those trays frequently, and then also flip your slices, so that this way you can make sure that you have nice, evenly dehydrated meat. You don't have any wet spots, soft spots. It's, you want to dry the moisture, but then you don't want to burn it. You don't want it while you're waiting for some parts to dehydrate, and other parts are getting over dehydrated. So that's why you want to turn those trays, you want to flip it over, you want to rotate it around, so that you have it nice and even. Like I said, you can do it in the oven, but dehydrators they're a lot easier. It's a lot more controlled heat. But it's up to you. It's how you want to do it. Okay. So sun drying is not recommended in North Carolina to make jerky, because it's going to our humidity is just too high. So we're not going to rely on sun drying. Okay. So now we marinated the meat in the refrigerator, and we're going to take it out. Now, some of the things that you can do for added food safety, it's up to you to do that. But if you want that added step, you can go ahead and boil the meat for 5 minutes in the marinade before you drain it off, and that's an added step. Or you can go ahead and you can make your jerky, in your dehydrator or in the oven, and then at the end, turn the oven up, or take it from the dehydrator, put it into a 275-degree oven for 10 minutes. And either one of those are an extra food safety step, that if you just want to, just have that added confidence of not having anything that might have survived that could possibly make you sick. Okay? So in most traditional jerky recipes, the meat is ready and it's still flexible. I mean, it's going to crack. Like when you bend it, you'll see where it cracks, but it doesn't snap in half. But it'll bend, and there's still some flexibility. Then it's dry. But follow the recipe, that you're using for your jerky. Now, there are some jerky recipes where it's very, very dry, very desiccated. It's being used as like chips, for snacks. There's others where it's very dry because it's going to be ground into a powder. So again, follow that recipe. You can dry if you want it extra dry. That's not a problem. You can dry it as long as you want. What you want to avoid is leaving any moisture, that those tiny microbes that I told you about, leaving opportunity for those microbes to grow or to produce toxins that can make you sick. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and show you how I made these, because I have some in there that I'm going to show you. But like I said, make sure that it's flexible. So for making, I'll show you. So when you pull it out of the marinade, if you're not going to boil it first, I didn't boil mine first. Go ahead and just tap off any excess marinade from your strips, with your paper towel. Just go ahead and dry off that extra marinade, and go ahead and put fill your tray up with strips, not overlapping, and they should not be touching each other. Okay. It smells really, really, really good. I'm gonna get an extra little piece of paper towel. This is getting moist. All right, so we're gonna take off that extra marinade. Put these strips out. I have a friend who hunts, and with this particular recipe, I'd like to use it again, but I'd like to use it with venison. So I'm going to put some added. I usually get some meat, but I want to make sure that I get some this year, because I would like to make some venison jerky using the soy sauce and adobo. I think it would work really well. All right, so we tapped off the extra marinade from those pieces. So I'm going to get rid of this. All right. I'm going to give my hands a quick hand wash. All right. And we're going to put this into the dehydrator and then pull out the other one. So let's get this in here. And pull out this one. All right, so for these pieces, okay, so like I said, there's still flexibility. It snapped, it's still pulling together a little bit there, but this is desiccated, it's ready to go. So when you have those pieces, something that you would want to do, if there's any extra oils on them, just go ahead and blot any extra oil off of the meat before you store it. You can either store it in a jar or in a food storage bag. It's up to you. So, and I'm only doing this for you because I'm gonna eat these. Okay, they came out really good, and there were more on the tray, but I needed to save some so that I could show how to do this. And you can see there's oil, you know, that's blotting off. You can see the oil on the paper towel. And we will blot all of these pieces, and they're ready to store. Now, you can store that on the counter for up to 2 weeks, or go ahead and just keep them in the refrigerator. You know, when you're ready to take them, you're gonna go, you know, go for a hike, go for a walk, what have you. You can take them out, you know, pack them away. But for storage, 2 weeks out on the counter, or you can store in the refrigerator. And jerky freeze is great, so you can freeze it as well. So I hope you go ahead and try making jerky. Share in the comments. Now, I wanted to point out, if you decide to make jerky, and you can with raw meat, with ground meat, so whether it's ground beef or it's ground poultry, although poultry is not recommended for jerky, you know, you need to get up to temperature. You need to cook it to 165 degrees before you dry it. But dry poultry doesn't have a really good texture, and its flavor is not that great. But if you do it with ground beef, you need to cook that ground beef to 160 degrees, and then you're going to form it into patties no longer than a 1/4 of an inch thick. You can do strips, what have you, and then you're going to go ahead and dehydrate it. But keep in mind, when you've ground the meat, if there are any of those tiny microbes we spoke about, it's going to be, you know, when you ground it, you've increased the surface area. Whatever was on the outside is now on the inside. So that's the reason why you need to make sure that you get up to 160 degrees before you go ahead and make your jerky. But you can use ground meat. So that's it for making jerky. Let's see, I see some messages. Let's see, I'm going to just say, hey, hi dear, Dirk, how are you? Let's see, Candace said they look fantastic. Candace, they're delicious. They came out so good. Regina said, this has been great. Awesome job, Debbie. You've made me want to, please make jerky. I can't wait to try the recipe. Regina, if you do it, please, please, please take pictures and drop them right into the comments for this post. That would be wonderful. I hope you've been making the things that I've been showing you as we go along, but it's worth it. Very tasty stuff. Now, for next week, we are, for all of you jam, jelly, and other sweet spread makers, if that's what you like to make sweet spreads, I'm going to talk to you next week about pectin. What is pectin? You know, where do you find it? What are the types? Do I need to use it? So next week is going to be all about pectins. But thank you for joining me on Wednesday Stash, and I hope you come back next week, and bye. Have a great time. Make some jerky.